Burton, what's up, homie?
What's up, dude?
Dude, the haircut looks great.
Thank you.
Dude, it looks...
Year and a half in the making.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't date you, but I know that there's
someone out there.
Yeah, there's someone out there.
Funny story is, I ended up doing property management for a 20 unit literally across the fence from the one we closed on because it looks identical to ours. I pulled in, was taking pictures. Some dude walks in.
Take all the tenants and you put them into your building.
No. Can I help you? And he's like, and you know, in commercial real estate, like, you got to play your cards close to the chest.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have said like, yeah, we're under contract to buy this place. So I'm
Yep.
taking, it's like, oh, the owner asked me to come take some pictures. He's like, well, I am the owner. I'm like, is this not this hat? I pulled in the wrong parking lot. So we were doing management for it. I was actually on the ground doing the actual management. And I was super excited after we closed the deal. And so I was sharing with him the Burr model. And it's like, hey, this is how it works. I was all super excited. And he laughed at me.
Telling this to the neighbor next door.
No, the owner of this apartment.
Oh, okay.
Because he's an operator.
Yeah.
Like, he bought this apartment. He invests in real estate.
This is the 20 unit?
The 20 unit.
Yeah.
The 20 unit that he bought, repositioning.
Yep.
You know, this is one of the things he does is reposition apartments, invest in real estate. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be great. So I had my conversation, you know, drawing out all the diagrams and the spreadsheets and everything, and he laughed at me in that conversation. And not like, oh my gosh, you're such an idiot, but just like, I would never invest in a deal like that. And
he wouldn't passively invest in a deal like that.
He wouldn't passively invest in a deal like that. And it hit me like,
because he's not getting enough
when
equity.
I was first getting started, exactly. It hit me like a sledgehammer. But then I'm like, you know what? That's not a knock on anything I'm doing, and honestly, it's not even a knock on him. It's just like, it's not a good fit for him, and in the back of my mind, now I'm thinking, right now.
Yeah.
Because here we are, it's like, he's called me 3 or 4 times in the past year asking me questions.
Yeah.
About apartments and investing and real estate. I'm like, my attitude's not like, oh, well, who's laughing now?
Yep.
But it's like, I've come a long way, and there will come a time when somebody who laughed at me very likely is going to be putting money into a deal that I have.
Absolutely, dude. It happens all the time for me right now.
So, like, there is no conversation wasted.
I started by wholesaling. The first year, I only flipped one house from start to finish, sold, you know, purchased, renovated, sold. What I did learn is how to find private money lenders, how to work with, you know, private money. My private money lender, I actually offered this person 50%. You know, 50% for you, 50% for me, for the profits in my first flip. Well, it turned out we only made $2,000. So
I was gonna say, that could either go really well in your favor or really not well in your favor, and the private money lenders.
Right, and but this private money lender, I mean, the cool thing was that it was another student. You know, it was another student. They wanted to learn too, and they wanted to learn, and we knew from the beginning. We were like, this is what we're hoping for. You know, we were hoping for, I think, like $80,000. You know, but we also know that, you know, it's our first flip. It can go wrong, right? But we both agree that we wanted to break even. So we pretty much break even there. And I learned that year with that property how not to flip houses. You know, from start to finish, how not to do it. And that was the first flip.
And I think that's also an important lesson, because you think, oh, I just can go get the education, or I can go and do this on my own. It's really a combination of both. You kind of need to learn how to do it from somebody else, what not to do from somebody else, and then equally you have to go and do a deal. But if you do both of them together, you will advance way quicker than just either only doing it on your own and learning how to do it or not do it, or only getting the education and then not actually taking action. Like, you need to do both of them, I think, all the time in order to really accelerate your growth.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. What I did in 2019 is I hired 2 people to start doing marketing, you know, and help me with everything else. So in the first 6 months of 2019, I did over 30 transactions.
Wow.
And
you realize marketing and people are investments, not expenses. As long as they're utilized the right way, measured the right way, you know, deployed the right way. Those 2 things are always investments that you will see a return on your investment in business. And that's a big couple of months. The seller had a need, and it's not always about money, right? It's not always about getting the most money for their property. It's about having a solution provided to their problem.
Yep.
And that problem could be instant money. And say, hey, listen, I'm willing to take a haircut big time on this if you guys just get this thing off my plate, out of my life, close in 2 weeks, right? And then you created value because you knew people in the marketplace who were willing to pay more, and then you could create that, and they were willing to pay that. They said, hey, Darren, that's an amazing deal. Thanks for bringing it to me for $100,000 more than what you brought it for, because I think it's worth $150,000 more.
Exactly.
Right? And so it creates value for you, creates value for the seller, creates value for the buyer, creates value for everybody who's in the middle, contractors, brokers, title companies, anybody else that is involved. And dude, it's a great value proposition. I love wholesaling, and I love wholesaling not only single family, but you can do multifamily and apartment buildings as well. It's a little bit more nuanced once you get over like $1 million buildings and stuff when people getting loans, but you can absolutely wholesale buildings under $1 million all day and make multiple six figures on those wholesale fees.
And the thing that you just said about solving the problem, I mean that's all that we are. We're just problem solvers. Same thing in the residential brokerage world. Like instead of overcomplicating it with CRMs and all these other gadgets and everything.
Yep.
The buyer the buyer's problem is they need somewhere to live.
Yep.
That's it. You just find them the house. That's solving the problem. The details about the contract and inspections, that's all other stuff. You know what I mean? Don't worry about that in the beginning. It's literally just solving the problem. The same thing with like wholesaling or, like you said, I had an example where, the seller wanted to get to X dollars and I just couldn't make sense of it, yet I could make sense of it if we did seller financing and I can get them there by showing, hey, this is what you'll earn over the course of a couple of years, seller financing. This will get you to where you want to be. Does that make sense? And they just had this number, and if I could show them a path to get there, they're okay with it, right?
Yep.
And then that works out better for me.
And prices have inflated significantly over the past 10 years in Charleston. And I know this is like very indicative of many other markets: Tampa, Florida, Miami, Florida, Jacksonville, all over Florida, all over Texas, all over Arizona, Vegas. Like a lot of these different markets are seeing the same thing that Charleston's seeing right now. But like, prices are just going like this, and they're 3, 4, 5 times what they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're like, how is this even sustainable? Is it possible that this is going to maintain? Is this overheated? Is it too inflated of a market, or is it the new normal? What do you think?
It can't be the new normal. I just don't see how people could afford it forever. There's, this kind of unmitigated appreciation is problematic. One thing that's interesting too, I forgot to say this to you earlier, but I read something the other day about this is going to be an event that creates generational wealth this last year. So people that may have bought, especially young people, first-time buyers that had bought a property before 2020 and 2021, and then the people who had to wait till during all this stuff and after, it's going to be really interesting because some people are being stretched so thin to buy a property now. Other people bought a house 2 years ago and have already sold it and made $100,000-$300,000 on it, and then they're going to have those funds they can put into other things. I'm telling a lot of my friends and clients in the past, I'm like, this is like a once in a generation opportunity to pocket a couple $100,000 on anything you may have this kind of equity in, and you can either hang on to or remove it.
But what do those people do? Then they got to go buy in the same market, or are you telling them to rent? Do you think the market will cool off, or like?
I'm telling them to rent until something happens. That's what I think is the most wise fiscally to do for those people. I mean, you're in a lot of at some point that equity, I think, is going to evaporate when there is a plateau or there's some sort of a correction. We're going to have a correction of some kind. I don't think it's going to be catastrophic. We've had a net.
There's so much money, dude. As soon as prices drop by 10%, it's going to be coming out of the woodwork, reinvested, and it's going to bump values back up. And I think a lot of people, especially with social media, it paints this get rich quick, lifestyle business, work from anywhere. Yeah, but guess what? I shoveled shit for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years before I've had this lifestyle, right? Like,
Amen, right?
I've definitely put in the hours, I've put in the work, and you didn't see that because I wasn't really on social media back then. But I try to talk about it so people realize this is like, it compounds, which is amazing. And so like they're seeing all the success very rapidly right now, but it wasn't always like this. It was a lot of work. Like we got well water on this property. You go down to that pump right now, you have to pump the well over and over and over. You got to pump and pump and pump, and you're putting in the work and not seeing any water come out. There's no results from that pump. And you're pumping, you're like, man, how long do I have to pump this friggin' well before the water starts coming out? But guess what? As soon as the water starts coming out, you don't need to keep on pumping. You just give it one little pump and it keeps flowing. And one little pump and it keeps flowing, right? And then once enough pressure builds up, it just, it's able to create the momentum and keep rolling without as much effort, and you get just as much results, right? And so it's kind of like that in business, and at least it was for me, where I worked, no results for 4 or 5 years, until finally a little bit of drop of success came out, right? And then I kept on working, kept on pumping, and then finally the water started flowing, and now I'm to the point where I just got to pump it once in a while, and it just keeps on flowing like crazy. And I think people don't understand that that's what business, that's what life, that's what success, that's what progress needs to look like. You gotta put in the effort to lay the foundation. It's like having a bank account. You can't make withdrawals from your bank account if you don't make deposits into it first. You have to make deposit after deposit after deposit until finally the interest starts accruing and starts then paying out dividends. But it takes a long time of putting money in before you can start taking money out. And it's the same thing with working your tail off, working your ass off in anything that you do.
Absolutely. I started in the business when I was 23, right? The first 5-7 years, it was 7 to 7. I was at the office working. I was the producer. Yes, I had a team, but I was producing. And to step back before that, right? So I played baseball through college, and before that, I went to work for an agent and did the business for a couple years. But I interviewed 7 times to be with the company that I'm in. 7 times. And you think about the grind. I mean, I'm not saying that most would have quit within 7, but most would have quit the deal within 7.
For sure.
And it goes back to the vision that I knew I wanted this. And I was young, right? I was younger, so I didn't have the financials that a lot of players had at that time to get in the business. But that 7-time grind is, nobody knows about that, right? Until they see something like this, like 7 times, and then, that 7 to 7 mindset. And then like you said, the water starts trickling, and you got to keep that growth mindset.
Keeping up with the Joneses is probably the worst thing you can do. It'll drive unhappiness, and you're never going to get there because you also have some misconception about what it takes to get there. It's not what you imagine. It's way harder. There is certainly some luck along the way. Sometimes people don't get those breaks.
Dude, you don't know what the earlier chapters of somebody else's life looks like, right?
Sure.
Like, you can't. I can't compare myself to Grant Cardone.
Yeah, sure.
Right. The dude's friggin' 60 years old, right? I'm 35. So guess what? He's been around the block a little bit longer, right? Had different life experiences, like just has a different perspective on some certain things, or had different opportunities in certain things, right?
And like at 60, you may not own an island anymore. Maybe in 10 years from now, you're like, I just want to be with the family, and we're going to be at our beach house, and that's it,
Right.
But now, like, one thing is, you hear a lot of stuff on the internet, but one of the most important things I think is like figure out your happiness. If you focus on that, I mean, everything else will kind of fall into place.
Yeah,
so.
I agree, man.
And like true happiness, not like this is what somebody else thinks I'm happy. Like I think they think, and even stuff that's, I mean, my kids are by far not perfect, and I'm a okay dad, but like I'm just always trying to figure out like how do I do this more, and hopefully I figure it out before they're grown-ups. But
well, I think probably one of the most important things you can do as a parent is just emulate and live the life.
Right.
Dude, be the dad that you hope your kids look up to, right? Like the hero that your kids think they are, or like, what's that? I want to be the person that my dog thinks I am, right?
That's right, super excited.
Like just the most amazing, remarkable individual ever.
That's a good one.
I need to live up to that, right? And I need to be the hero that my kids think I am. And I never want to be incongruent with that, and at the same time, like just emulate. They're not going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to do what they see you doing.
Right.
And if they see you working hard, putting family first, and a lot of that kind of stuff, then I think they're going to emulate that. It's going to be a value that then is instilled in them from a young age.
Right. And I think one tough thing though, as a parent, for me at least, has been like, how am I not their friend? I need to be their parent first and their friend probably later, And I've always been impressed with my own parents because now we're very close. We talk almost every day. We go on vacations together and stuff. And but I was always so scared of my mom. Like, you know, if we did something wrong and she started coming, it was like, oh shit, here she goes, you know. So like that's and there's no perfect way of doing it, but it's just like you got to make sure that you're, you know, doing the parenting part first, and you're not their best friend, because we're not best friends, you know. They're your kids, and
yeah, I mean, it's your job to make sure they're a good human being.
Yes.
And sometimes there's a lot of tough love that comes with that.
I think about this all the time, is like how to help people. Like, if you have awareness, even thinking that you want to be successful and financially free, there's a reason you're thinking that way.
Yeah.
And you better lean into it, because if not, you're going to regret every second of it in the future. And have you ever met anybody that said, man, I wish I'd waited longer? I wish I'd have just waited 2 more years to suck. My life sucks. It's like, dude, everyone's like, I wish I'd have started 5 years ago when I felt the tap on my shoulder.
Yep.
Like, dude, if you even think it's a thing, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Because if not, why would it even be brought to your attention?
Yep.
In your brain? And it's that little person, whatever you want to call them above, tapping on your shoulder, said, wake up, it's your time. I don't care what your situation is. I grew up in a trailer court till I was 10, small town Ohio. Dude, like, I just saw my parents struggle and bust their ass to get to where they're at. And like you said, they would do anything for anybody. And that's my duty now, to do anything for anybody to help them too, you know?
Yeah. Well, dude, I know right before we got started, you were signing docs to buy your dad a pretty cool gift. Tell me about like the thought process behind that.
No, man, I bought my dad his dream car, a Corvette. It's something he's been wanting his whole life. So I kind of like, you know, it's something I could have. It's interesting. It's something I could have done a long time ago. I don't know why I haven't. I've done some other really cool stuff with them, but like I was coming home one day and I was like, dude, it just came to my thing. It's like, yo, what's up? You got to do something cool for your dad. And my biggest fear is like when that pops up now, I think, well, if I don't do it now, when do I do it?
Exactly.
And heavens forbid, if something bad happened to him and I didn't do it, I personally don't know how I would live with myself.
Yeah.
It'd be something that'd eat away at me, and then it'd make me a little, you know, upset forever. And I don't want to carry that baggage around. So I just leaned into it, and I made the decision and made it happen within 36 hours of the conversation in my head. So it's an emotional process, because, you know, you're trying to talk yourself out of it. You're trying to minimize your dreams. It's like, dude, I want the $80,000 car, but there's one for 60. There's one for 72. It's only got 20,000 miles. So it's a stupid game we play with ourselves. And dude, at the end of the day, 60 or 80, if that's changing the game, I shouldn't be doing it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So go with the best.
That's awesome, man. Did he want one of the newer models, or did he?
Yeah, the 2019, he's kind of talked about it. I heard him talk about it. I was looking at my phone. My uncle snapped a picture of one in like a year ago, randomly. And he's like, yo, your Amex card ain't working, Mark, like joking around. And I was like, well, he could have used it. I wouldn't have known probably. But it's cool to see, like, you know, I think we're set here too as well to make dreams come true for others. Like, that's what I love about success and money and cool things. Like, I love giving. Giving to me is like one of the best things in the world.
Dude, and you're one of the best that I've ever met at it.
It was really hard for me to, at the first time I was like, all right, I'm gonna pass off control of some tasks that I've been doing for a long time that I felt like I was okay at, but I didn't like. It was really hard on that for the first one to give it away. But then once I did it once and I saw that it worked better, I'm like, oh my God, like I love this. So now I'm like, now it's everything, right? And I was just talking to my business partner about this. I'm like, to have a business, you have to be able to, if you were eliminated from the business, could your business survive? Could your book of business stay with the agency? And if it can't, it's not a business.
Exactly.
It's you.
It's a job.
Your value is not there. I feel like if I died tomorrow, the agency would suffer, right? But it wouldn't. I'm not losing all the business, because everybody knows that there's a process to the agency, and I'm just a cog in that process. So I think that's an important. So you don't have any value if it's Tim Bratz and I do everything. There's no value.
You can't sell that.
Yeah, correct.
There's no sellability to that.
Or you have to be part of the sale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your labor has to be part of the sale. I'm trying to grow the business to where, yes, I'm important, but I could transition the business to somebody else very easily over 1 year to 18 months maybe. I could get all of my people comfortable. Of course, I would be heavily involved in who I'm selling the business to. But if I would sell thoughtfully to the right person, I think I could keep 100% of my customers with that person, given a transition process. If I die tomorrow, of course, you're going to lose some of my business because I wasn't able to transition. But I think that's a thing that people, even really good business people, don't contemplate. It's what your business is worth the ability to keep the revenue after you're not a part of the business.
Agreed. Tell me about like what's your mindset, what's your thought around the transition that we've made, obviously from smaller multi into mid-sized, 50 units, 75 units, into like these 100-unit complexes and more. From an underwriting standpoint, due diligence standpoint, sourcing of the deal standpoint, what have you find have been like the nuances that and hurdles that we've had to face?
More zeros, more people, I guess. That's really it.
It's not that more complex. Right?
Not that much has changed. More commas, more tenants. That's about it. Our due diligence is a little bit. I mean,
you just got to get over like your own questioning of like, oh, can I do this deal? Right? Your own lack of confidence in doing a big deal. But dude, it's no different.
I feel like we never even
hit 200.
I feel like a lot of people hit that. I feel like we didn't really hit that. I think we just kind of just went for it,
dude. We just rolled. Which is a big. I mean, that's not something that we should even like gloss over. Like, what I have found is the biggest differentiator between successful people and unsuccessful people, or successful people and really successful people, is just their ability to think big. That's the greatest correlation. Not how fucking smart they are, not their educational level, not their access to capital or lack of access to capital, or their ingenuity or resourcefulness. Like, those things all play a part in it. But dude, like the biggest correlation is the people who are like, yeah, I'm gonna go buy that building. I wish I could buy that one day. Well, like, we've always been like, well, why not us? Right? Yeah. We've always asked, why not us? If somebody else can do it, why couldn't we do it?
It's funny, like,
we don't let that shit get in our way.
I remember, I think you, me, it might have been you, me, like Fatty and Litzler. One day we were out at lunch, and you think bigger than probably anybody I know, and I caught you one day, and you're like my pupil, like you've done it. Kind of. You said like you said something like,
I can teach you no more.
You said something like the biggest landlord in the country owns
500,000 doors.
500,000 doors. Could you ever imagine getting to that? Or like, and I was like, yes, I can. And you're like, yeah.
There's nothing left to teach.
Yeah, we can. So, yeah.
Dude, we totally could. Like, it just becomes a game where you're buying packages of portfolios, right? Like, you're buying 6,000 doors at a time. All it is it's more zeros, man. I know you're making your brother proud. I know. I saw some of the message that he used to send you and stuff.
Yeah.
And seems like it was just an absolutely remarkable guy. I'm excited for what 2021 holds for you, and I appreciate you being here.
Ooh,
cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate the relationship. I appreciate you reaching out and showing that you're somebody worthwhile of pouring into by figuring out, what creates value for me, what creates value for others, and it's a great. You have an extremely resourceful mindset. And you're thinking about things from a way of not just taking, but how can I give? And if I give, then I know it'll come full circle.
All right, dude, brother.
I really appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much.
That was an awesome conversation. Dude, you've done a lot of things over the past 7 years. I can't imagine what the next 7 look like.
Yeah, excited. It's going to be cool to see it.
Appreciate you, dude.
Thanks for doing this, and thanks for letting us into the group.
I'm just excited to see where the next 3 to 5 years, man,
Me too.
takes you personally, takes us as friends. And what we can accomplish together, man.
Sure, man. I'm excited for it. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been awesome watching your business grow over the past 6 years. It's been awesome what you've done and how the masterminds have influenced my business over the past 6 years. And like you said, I can't imagine where we're going to be 6, let alone 60 years from now. It's going to be...
Well, we're going to be fighting who has the best jet. Who's buying the first sports team?
Who's got the biggest country? Awesome, dude. Well, dude, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate the friendship, appreciate the business partnership, and dude, we got to do another one of these next time I'm back in Cleveland.
Love to do it.
All right, brother. It's exciting to see you and exciting to watch things continue to elevate and continue to excel.
Working at it, yep.
And
thanks to you, man. I mean, this, not to be kissing your butt on your own video, but I mean, a lot of people.
Let's run this part. Make sure that we got
put this in the
3
beginning.
minutes. All right, keep going.
Yeah. No, but like, I spent time at your house. Like it's very inspiring stuff, so keep it up. Everybody's, benefiting, and it's all from that abundance mentality, right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever, you have that one saying about the sunshine, and you taking other sunshine doesn't keep it from other people. Like, it really is. This place is huge. So if you focus on trying to figure out how to improve the life of your own little tribe, like, you can do really well. It doesn't need to be everybody on earth, just a good handful of people that you want to help. So
love it, dude. There's been a lot more bad days or mediocre days than there's been good days for sure. But those good days are so good, man. They make all the other ones worth it. So good stuff, dude. Until next time. Appreciate you, brother.